Feeling friends is this concept that I came up with laying in bed one night. I have all these close friends who have these wonderful stories that can help change the world, life experiences that can help other people believe in themselves, hold tight to their dreams and make their dreams reality. On Feeling Friends, we talk about God, we talk about love, relationships. I have celebrity friends, I have non-celebrity friends. I have church members, family members. But when you watch and listen to Feeling Friends, you will learn and you will laugh. It's a community of friends helping to build each other up. So tune in to Feeling Friends every Sunday on WHCR 90.3 FM, or you can catch me on YouTube at Feeling Friends Radio. All right, I'll see you there. WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. What's up, everybody? It's me, Phil, and I'm back in my home studio. I should be at the studio, but you're going to hear this on the radio. So thank you guys so much for joining. We have a really special guest today. My friend Tia Blount is here, and we are going to talk about the empowerment of the family, the empowerment of the woman, and she has some really great views and how we're going to talk about how she's helping the community at large. So without further ado, here's my friend Tia Blount. Hello, friend.
Hey, friend.
How you doing?
I'm good.
It's so good to see you.
Likewise. It seems like it's been so long.
Right, I know, right? A
couple of weeks.
Listen, you are in Waller, Texas. Where is Waller, Texas?
So Waller is close to Prairie View A&M University. So that's for all of my HBCU friends that definitely are familiar. But we're literally like maybe 50 miles from like the downtown Houston area.
Oh, you're not far at all.
Yeah, no. So Houston is our major city.
Okay, so you in Houston.
Yeah. Yes, I'm in Houston, basically. Everything I do is in Houston.
My family is from outside of Houston. On my mom's side, like from the 1800s, it's right outside of Houston. I forget the name of it. I'll tell you after we get off
Okay,
air.
yeah, let me know. So
listen, you are at the Waller Pregnancy Care Center and Family Way Empowerment. I have to get that right. Empowerment Center, where you are the executive director.
Correct.
You know, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. And you said something so empowering, and it just kind of like stopped me. But you were about it. And I said, well, what is he talking about? Let me get a part of this. So tell us about what you do and your empowerment center.
Yes. So I'm the executive director for the Way, Truth, and Life Outreach. We do business as Waller Pregnancy Care Center and Family Way Empowerment. So one umbrella and two separate entities. So Family Way. Let me start with Waller Pregnancy Care Center. Waller Pregnancy Care Center, our focus is to provide option counseling for women and men who face unplanned pregnancies, providing them with, compassionate care and just vital information, being just the support to them as they navigate through their options, which their options are to choose to parent, choose to place for adoption, or to have an abortion. Then we have Family Way Empowerment, which we focus more on the family unit. So this would be for mom, for the dad, for grandparents that are helping. And all it is just to empower them, help them to be better parents, just really focusing on the whole family unit. Back to that, it takes a village and just being able to encourage them. So that's what we do.
So before we jump ahead, because I'm jumping ahead because I'm excited about this show. Yes. Let's talk about your life, because you come from a great family. And I want to talk about your upbringing in Waller. And what was that like, and how does that affect who you are today with your beautiful children?
Yes. So, I'm originally from Brooklyn, and, we moved here.
Excuse me, Brooklyn.
Well, no, I did. I finished high school in Waller. So it's like we first lived in Houston for a while. And then we moved to Waller, which was obviously complete culture shock coming from New York and then moving just to Texas in general. So you talk about moving from Houston, which was more suburban. And then here I'm living on 40 acres with cows and stuff. Right. So it was rough for me in high school just because, I liked the city. I had just got accustomed to being in the suburbs, and then here we are. But, it was my mom and my stepdad while I was in high school, and, my brothers. I had a couple of step siblings as well. But, I just wanted to get through high school. I knew I was never going to stay in Texas to finish, undergrad or anything like that. But excuse the door. I'm at my office. So, but yeah, so I went to high school out here. And then once that was over, I knew I was going to move away. And I went to Clark, Atlanta for a tour with a lady that was helping me through just applications and stuff. I kind of took like this special program to just kind of get me prepared. And that was the first time I ever been on a HBCU campus. Although I was literally 5 miles from Prairie View, I really wasn't familiar with it. But Clark Atlanta.
TSU is right.
Oh, right. TSU was a part. And I was familiar with these schools.
Right.
However, they just were not. I just didn't like Texas like that. Like it just wasn't for, I was young, so I wanted to be more in the city. And I felt Atlanta when I went there, I was just captivated by it. And so
you ain't got to tell me because I'm from Texas. So I was like, I got to get out of here.
So that was pretty much how it. My mother definitely was begging me to stay in Texas and go to Sam Houston. But I was like, nah, I gotta go. And so it was definitely the best decision I could have ever made.
Absolutely. And let's talk about that experience at an HBCU. What was that experience like for you?
It was like, for one, it was the first time, obviously, living away from home, but it was like being still with family. Like everybody was just so welcoming, just making lifetime friends just right away. It was just truly like a blessing. I loved being involved on campus. Probably one of my favorite experiences was being an RA.
What dorm were you in?
My first dorm was in Holmes Hall, and then it was Pfeiffer Hall.
Okay.
And so I loved them both. So shout out to all of my babies that I had during that time. They were just wonderful. But yeah, being an RA was probably my best time. I loved that mentoring, which kind of helped me in what I, do now with men and women. So yeah.
So let's shift. About 10, 15 years later, you have your own family.
Yes, I do. I have 4 boys.
And they so tall. I just saw the oldest one so tall now.
Yes, he'll be 15 next week. And then I have Bryson. That's EJ. He is 15. I have a 11-year-old Bryson. I have a soon to be 7-year-old Kevin. And then there's Kyle, who's 4.
So what is that like being a mother? And what's the importance of Black men seeing a strong Black woman take care of what she needs to do? And what does that mean to you?
So I will say my biggest thing with my boys is for me to raise them to be very independent. I am very pro-man. And so I want them to know that they can depend on themselves and they're able to take care of themselves. Definitely. And so, they see me work, they see me run a business, they see me participate and volunteer throughout our community. And I want them to know that they need to be involved as well. I don't want them to ever be dependent on anything or anybody, but I want them to know it's okay to have support, but you need to be able to take care of yourself. And so, I start them at 6 years old sorting laundry. So by the time they 8, you washing your own clothes. So, but yeah, they love that. They love to see that, mama strong, they think you're Superwoman, but I bring them back to reality to let them know I'm human.
And they have 2 great parents between you and your, that family unit is important. So you're doing a great job raising them. I want to talk about when you translate that to the Waller Family Center. And I didn't know, until I started doing my research, you all have women and men.
Yes, because men are pregnant when she's pregnant as well. And I think we tend to forget that. And we like to just say that it's just a woman, just, it's her body, it's her. But at the end of the day, it takes both of them. It's his seed that's planted. We are the carrier. And so I don't know why we as a society shift from not identifying with men as being fathers when the baby is in the womb, because they are. They're just as much a part of the process as mom is. It's not our fault that that's the way God designed it for us to be, but essentially it's both of us.
And so is it about training in the classes? Is it about showing them the tools that they need? Tell us what
absolutely. So, when you have someone that comes in that's facing an unplanned pregnancy, of course, our first goal is to just hear them. Most of the time people don't listen, and so especially in our communities where it's more brown people, lots of times, especially where I am, being so close to universities and colleges, they're worried about, telling mom or dad that they're pregnant. And because they know the first things are like, no, you can't have this baby, right? Like we think about the struggles that we've had throughout history, and we have to go back to all of that. So it's like, here we are, and you're in school, and you've made it, but at the end of the day, you can still make it with your baby. And I always say that they can be doctors and have their babies too.
Mm-hmm.
And so our first thing when we're with them is to just hear them, just listen to them, not trying to give them anything but our ear and our heart, to know that we hear their story, we hear their struggle. And people do not realize how far it goes when you can just listen to someone.
And sometimes you just need to just listen. Like these are,
That's
you
it.
know,
They're not asking you your opinion or your thought or what they just need you to hear them.
right.
But what we do is we provide a lot of the compassionate care. So
Okay.
once a woman has decided yes to life, like for her baby, a lot of what we do is we provide them with education in pregnancy, for parenting, and everything we do, the father can do as well. So
Okay.
it's not just partial, just to mom. All of the services are free. We do offer counseling. So should they need mental health services, we provide that as well. Um, we're just here to just be a source. We have special activities and sessions. We're engaged with a lot of the church community, which is a very important piece, because they need to be embracing and not condemning. And so, we definitely go out to talk to them so they know how to support, because it's already here. We're not talking abstinence and purity. We got to be the solution for when they're already in this space of being pregnant.
As we're here, so let's deal
We're
with this
here.
now.
So we need to deal with what's here.
You said something. You said saying yes to the child. This is a yes thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do we? Because I like when you said we were talking about Black women in the '60s and '70s and how they were trying to control the bodies. Let's talk about the shame of a young woman having a child or getting pregnant, being surprised, and the shame of the wedlock and, oh, you need to abort or you can't do that. What is the Waller Care Center? How do we help support them and say, no, I don't want to abort my child. I want to keep my child. How do we?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So sometimes when we talk about specifically in, our community, um, it's very much a taboo subject. We don't talk about it, not much in the church or anything. But God gave us life, right? And so why do we feel as though, one of my biggest things is pregnancy isn't a death sentence.
Mm,
Let's just start there. It's not a death sentence. And I think we treat it as such, as if it stops us from being able to excel. It may alter the path, but it doesn't stop us. Cancer can take us away. A car accident, is deadly. AIDS is deadly, but having a baby is not the end
mm,
of the
the
world
word.
for us. It just
Right.
means that maybe if you are in school and you were supposed to finish in a year, maybe it's now going to be two. We all don't have the same path, and we need
Right.
to be able to explain and understand that. And when you talk about people who have had babies young in the beginning, like
Mm,
if there's a mom who's had a teenage pregnancy and then, now it's the daughter, but look at what you have birthed. Look
mm,
at what your daughter is. She's still successful. She's still doing well. And sometimes it just takes somebody to be able to help them to see those things and to just listen to them, help them to understand, why do you feel that way?
yeah.
People need a person to listen to them and for you to offer a different insight of how to see things, because some things are just generational and we just repeat the
Mm,
cycle
yeah.
of the same story and not really fully understanding that we can still propel and have our babies.
And that's a very important because they don't hear you can keep it moving. You can do what you need to do and
Yes.
still listen. Maya Angelou did it. Maya Angelou did it. Oprah Winfrey had a child at like 13 or 14. She became the first Black woman billionaire. You
Mhm.
can still do, even though the child didn't survive, but you can still make it happen
Yes.
in your life. Let's talk about the core foundation of this organization because it's the way, the truth, and the life. If I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, what is faith and how does that play a role in your life personally and in this center?
So it is a faith-based ministry. So
Mhm.
we are based on Christian principles, and it was actually my mom who started this ministry
Okay.
by trade. She was a registered nurse who worked labor and delivery.
Oh,
Received her master's as a family nurse practitioner,
mhm.
but she didn't practice clinically. She started this ministry, and it started in our house. When I was actually in college back in 2004. And she has a very amazing testimony,
Mhm.
in regards to that. And it was my stepdad, who I always like to give credit to, that heard my mom's vision and he supported her in birthing that. And they started out just case managing with, young teen girls in their pregnancy. She was just helping them. In the area where we lived at the time back in 2004, there was no medical health services really for women. It was just like a desolate here. And so she had volunteered for a while at another center out in Brenham, and she birthed this in Waller from our home. I remember coming home from college, and she had two other ministries that was in there. One, she helped start a pediatric clinic and another teen center, and my whole room was like an exam room.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, guess I'll just go to New York for the summers because I have nowhere to sleep. But that was really how it started, was just really trying to help, young women that were in school with their babies. And then it realized that it was more than just teens that needed support, because there is no manual to pregnancy, and every pregnancy for a woman is different no matter how many children she has. So now we just service women in total. And it was very important that, we base this on faith, because people need something, to believe. They need to have something to hold on to. And so, God is the center of what we do here. This is his ministry. This is not mine. This is not my mom's. People tend to think so, but this belongs to him. Good. This belongs to him. So.
And I think when you put God at the center and at the first head of anything, it's going to work out just fine.
Absolutely.
You've been around for a long time, right?
Yeah, it'll be 20 years this year. So we'll have our gala in October celebrating 20 years.
Listen, what are some of the challenges that someone might face as soon as they're coming into your organization? That makes sense. What are some of the top things they may be?
Like if they come in pregnant, what are some of the issues? Yeah. We deal with a lot of people who may be homeless.
Okay.
And we need to remember, homeless doesn't mean just being on the street. If you live with mom or living with an aunt,
that's experiencing homelessness.
That's still experiencing homelessness.
It is, yeah, it is.
Transportation is a huge issue, especially being in a rural area. Obviously, just people not having a job, so income is a huge thing for why they may not want to continue on with their pregnancy. But I would say those are some of the main things.
So I'm pregnant. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
I'm walking to your door. I'm just frustrated. Walk me through this Waller Care Pregnancy Organization Empowerment Center. I know you listened to me first. You said that. What are the next steps after you listening to me?
So after we hear them, we always affirm them. We want them to know that we heard them. We hear their pain. We want to know, what is it that you want? And one thing I will say is, lots of times if a man is involved, if he's not a support to her, that's what can exasperate the issue even more. And when men say,
I'm sorry,
when men say to a woman when she's pregnant, and she normally will come by herself, and we always will interview her first, even if the partner does come, and then we will bring him in, because we want her to feel comfortable. We want her to feel safe in stating however she feels. But if he says, whatever you decide, I'm going to support you, that is not firm. That does not help her. As women, we want men to have a position, state what it is. Yes, we can do this, and I'm going to be here to have this. This is our child. We're going to do this. They need to hear that, not hear, because what you do is you still end up putting it on her, and she didn't do it by herself. So I've noticed lots of times that is always an issue for women. It's like, well, he's just like, whatever it is I want to do, he's going to support me. But she's still so confused because she doesn't know, and she feels like she's going to still be doing it by herself.
Right. And most of the time women end up doing it by themselves.
They end up doing it by themselves. So it's like, that is not affirming her on your stance and being a man by having a position. And we do have a men's program here, because fathers need support too. But I'll finish with women. So we always will walk them through what their options are. We will let them know, like, if you do choose to parent, we let them know of what all we do here to service them. We talk about placing for adoption. And when adoption is always very much something most people like, oh no, I just can't do that at all. They would rather turn to an abortion rather than placing for adoption, because they don't understand the heroic aspect of being a birth mom. There are people who can't have babies. So you placing doesn't mean, I think we get so caught up in how adoption was back then. People don't realize that you can still be very much a part of your child's life just because you place them. And it doesn't, we need to come out of these concepts of thinking that we're giving it up. We're placing, we need to know
That's
that.
really good. I mean, nobody thinks like that. That's why we need like
think
you.
about in our community, we have friends that grew up with their grandmother or their cousin or their aunt. Why is it any different from placing a child with another family? You can get to know them as well. It isn't just blood is thicker than water. Not if we're all God's children. We're all family, right? And so it's really just about mindset and how we change. So it's a lot of that conversation we have with them that we know they're not going to get when they leave out of our doors. So we try to leave them with some sort of hope to know that it is not what you may have always seen it to be. And so those are the kind of things. And, we'll help them get, Medicaid if they need it. We help them find a doctor. We'll give them the first ultrasound. We give them something to remember, their baby with, because at the end of the day, it is still their choice. We are not pushing to them to have to say yes to life. God gives us all the ability to choose. And I always say, just because we have that ability doesn't always mean we choose right in the eyes of him. And even if a woman does choose to have an abortion, we are still here to support her, because that's what Christ-like people would do. We're still there for them. And so that's pretty much what it looks like. It's really just offering them the support.
I love that. I want to go back to this adoption. You hit something on the head. You said, let's talk about that. Because people are like, I ain't giving my kid up, but you'll decide to abort. That's your choice. There's no judgment.
There's no judgment.
So we need to start looking at it as replacing, right?
Replacing. We're not.
What does that look like? If a person decides, I don't know if you deal with that at your
So
clinic.
we don't. So we do partner with other ministries and organizations that can come in. Like, that's our biggest goal. So if a woman is wanting to place for adoption, what we do as a center is we want to make it easy. We're not going to just refer you out somewhere and be like, oh, well, here's the number. No, we're going to have them come meet you here. Everything is meeting them where they are, because you're already stressed, you're already in crisis. To try to send you somewhere else is probably not going to be the best. And 9 out of 10, you're probably not going to call. You have so many other people in your ear. So we will bring them here because they have already found solace and they've already found peace being in this space. So we want them to stay there. So we can have someone come in or to talk to them just about adoption. And, I even get my staff into trainings to understand the language to use about adoption, because people think adoption is just so open and closed, and it's not.
It's not. Let's go into this fatherhood, because you don't have a program where you help men. What does that look like for a man?
Yeah, so it's called Abraham's Den. I have, like I said, I've always been pro man. I think that he is very central to the family unit, to the family piece. And I had realized I used to see a lot of our men clients, and, they were always very receptive, to me, but I'm not a man, I'm a woman. And although they may have found comfortability, I think there's just still things that I will never be able to help them with, because it's just experiences that I will not have.
Right.
And so I've always wanted to have something where men were comfortable to come and be a part of. Men are very different from women. They don't round table necessarily like we do in a counseling session and in this group and scheduling. So I wanted it to be more of an open concept. Right. So we have on Thursdays, which today from 5 to 7, where men are 5 to 8, that they're able to just come through. During any time. They don't have to schedule, we do it in the evening because they work, and they get the same supplies, and they get to meet with the men, a male advocate, and they just talk.
And I love that, because a lot of people forget about men. There are men out there who want to be good fathers. Who
just don't know how, because they didn't have a father, or they didn't have a good one. And that's what I'm saying, that the child deserves to have both parents be at their best. It's not just mom. And men are pregnant at the Waller Pregnancy Care Center, just like mom is. And so we have times where men get to do men things, women can do their things. They have things that they can do together. It's all about them being able to be the best for their child.
I think, I know you told me about the politics thing, but I think this should be on the world stage because it's about the whole family.
It is about
We
the
don't
whole
have people. We don't. I haven't heard. You know, I worked at a homeless shelter. I worked at a community center and thing. I have never heard of a place that helped men. It's always the woman. So thank
Many
you.
pregnancy centers do have men programs. I
Okay.
think, like I told you, I do not get into the
Yeah, of course.
politics of things.
Right.
I want people to always know that this is a heart matter and not a politics matter. However, if you think about it, society is just going to show what they want to show when it comes to that,
Right.
when it comes to pro-life or pro-choice. You know what I mean? Nobody's really going in to understand that this is really a pro-Christ thing, and that's how we operate as pro-Christ, not in either of those concepts. And so the woman's always going to have her choice to choose, like I said, but we're always going to promote life because that's what God gives to us, and that's what his word says, and that's the most that I'll say on that.
Absolutely. Well, you know, here at Feeling Friends, we believe in the Lord, and that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
Listen,
Yes,
I
we do.
want you to give your final thoughts to our audience. This has been an amazing show. I want people, before we do that, I want you to tell people how to get in contact with your organization.
Yes, feel free to go to WTLOutreach.com. We also have a Facebook page that is called Friends of WTL, and you'll see it come up. Check it out. Read some of the stories that we have. We are a nonprofit, so everything we do here is, free of charge to everyone. We do not charge them. We do have professionals that are on our staff, from doulas to, counselors and nurses and sonographers, trained client advocates. But I will just say pregnancy is not a death sentence. I think that is probably one of our biggest things right now, is that pregnancy is not a death sentence, and that men and women can still be doctors and lawyers and have their babies too. And that we just need to be support to them, listen to them, empower them. It takes a community, and that's what our community here does in Waller. And I want many other communities to do the same.
Well, we thank you so much, Tia, for coming on
Of
Feeling
course.
Friends. Hold tight for me while we're in the green room, okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Of-
We thank Tia Blount for coming on with the Waller Family Center, Empowerment Center. We have to put God, like she said, Christ at the center of everything we do. And that's what we believe here at Feeling Friends. Put him first, and everything's going to work out. And don't judge people. Help people. Listen to people. I'm Phil. You're listening to Feeling Friends right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.